Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer on the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Now, if you think you already know how the world's biggest sporting event works, well, you might actually want to think again. The 2026 tournament is literally gearing up to be the most expansive, dynamic, and frankly, the most technologically advanced edition in football history. We're talking massive structural overhauls, incredibly strict new rules right there on the pitch, and honestly, some sci-fi level officiating tech. It is a lot to take in, but we're going to break the whole shebang down for you right here so you are 100% ready for kickoff.
Okay, let's dive into our blueprint for today. We'll be looking at first, the biggest World Cup ever. Second, surviving the group stage. Third, the new knockout gauntlet. Fourth, strict new pitch rules. And 5, tech-powered officiating.
Section 1. The biggest World Cup ever. A tournament of unprecedented scale across the US, Canada, and Mexico. So, to really understand the sheer scale of what's coming, we have to start right here with this number, 48. For decades, we've all been completely accustomed to that classic 32-team era. Well, that is over. We are now welcoming 48 participating nations to the global stage. This fundamentally changes the math, and it's going to demand an entirely new level of squad depth and endurance for any team hoping to win it all.
And because we've got 48 teams, we get a staggering 104 total matches. Just let that sink in for a second. 104 games of elite international football. That is a massive jump from the 64 games we're used to seeing, and the whole thing culminates in the final on July 19th at the New York, New Jersey Stadium.
Now, you might be wondering, how on earth do you organize 48 teams without it just descending into absolute chaos? Well, the magic number is 12. These teams will be divided up into 12 groups of 4. They'll still play 3 matches in that initial round-robin phase, which actually means a total of 72 group stage matches are going to be played before we even catch a whiff of an elimination game.
Section 2. Surviving the group stage. Advancing from the massive pool of 48 teams.
With 12 groups, the old, straightforward math goes completely out the window. So what's really interesting here is how they siphon 32 teams from that giant pool of 48. Basically, the top 2 teams from each group automatically advance, so that gives us 24 teams right there. Then, the remaining 8 spots, those go to the absolute best third-place teams across all groups. Meanwhile, 16 teams will be packing their bags and heading home.
But what happens when things get really tight? Imagine it's match day 3, and 2 teams are absolutely deadlocked, fighting tooth and nail for one of those coveted third-place spots. Take a look at this cascading tiebreaker priority. Obviously, it starts with group points. But if they're tied there, we move to overall goal difference, then overall goals scored. And if it's still tied after that, we look at team conduct, meaning literally who has fewer yellow and red cards. And if, by some absolute miracle, they are still tied, it comes down to their most recent FIFA World ranking. So honestly, every single pass, goal, and foul is going to matter more than it ever has before.
Section 3. The new knockout gauntlet. The grueling and expanded path to the final.
All right, so once a team actually survives that group stage, their reward is an entirely new, incredibly grueling roadmap. Because of the expanded format, we now have a round of 32 kicking off in late June. This means single elimination jeopardy starts a whole round earlier. For the 2 teams that eventually claw their way to the final, they are going to have to survive an unprecedented 8 total matches to lift that trophy, up from the traditional 7. It is, without a doubt, the ultimate test of depth and endurance.
And, in a tournament this long, a player's availability is absolutely their best ability. Check out the difference between the old rules and the 2026 expanded rules. FIFA is actually giving players an extra clean slate. Yellow cards will now reset after the group stage, and they'll reset again after the quarterfinals, which is huge. But of course, if a player picks up 2 yellows before one of those breaks, yep, they're still suspended for the next match.
Section 4. Strict new pitch rules. A human element. Conduct, welfare, and red cards. Now, right alongside the structural changes, IFAB, the body that actually determines the laws of the game, is instituting some incredibly severe behavioral crackdowns. Did you know that simply covering your mouth could get a player sent off in 2026? It's true. Players often cover their mouths to hide what they're saying from the TV cameras. Well, under the new laws, if a player covers their mouth while communicating with an opponent in a provocative or inflammatory manner just to hide insults or abuse, that is a straight red card offense. Boom, you're out. It's a really massive push by FIFA to combat racism and discrimination right there on the pitch.
And the crackdown on dissent? It is just as severe. Leaving the field in protest of a referee's decision?
Red card. Encouraging your teammates to walk off? That's a red card too, even if they don't actually leave. And if these red cards start piling up and a team drops below 7 players on the field, they automatically forfeit the match. No questions asked. But there is a failsafe here. VAR is now explicitly empowered to intervene and overturn erroneous red cards, and that includes mistaken second yellow dismissals. Just to prove exactly how serious this all is, take a look at this official signature from the IFAB secretary. These are not just suggestions or, temporary tournament guidelines. These are unprecedented, official law changes that are going into full effect for all competitions starting on July 1, 2026, which is perfectly timed for the thick of the World Cup.
So the crucial point to take away here is that while conduct rules are getting way stricter, player welfare is actually getting a major upgrade too. At exactly the 22nd minute of each half, the referee will pause the game for a mandatory 3-minute hydration break. And here's the real kicker. This happens regardless of weather conditions. Whether it's a scorching day in Miami or they're playing inside a climate-controlled stadium in Dallas, they get 3 minutes, whistle to whistle, to ensure perfectly equal conditions for every single team.
Section 5. Tech-powered officiating. The invisible digital twin running the match.
All right, to create this digital twin, 16 dedicated cameras in every single stadium are going to track dozens of data points on every player, multiple times per second. And this brilliantly illustrates how, when combined with a microchip embedded continuously inside the match ball, the system creates a real-time 3D replica of the game using these digital player avatars. Basically, this means instant semi-automated offside alerts are sent directly to the officials, virtually eliminating human error on those super tight calls and out-of-bounds controversies.
But wait, the tech doesn't stop there. All 48 nations will have access to Football AI Pro, which is an artificial intelligence platform generating advanced tactical analysis and statistics completely on the fly. Furthermore, enhanced referee body cams will capture footage, giving fans sitting at home a true visceral perspective of the incredibly difficult split-second decisions these officials have to make out there on the pitch. Which really leaves us with this final thought. We are entering an era where AI is tracking every single millimeter of a player's digital avatar, and strict new laws are policing every covered word spoken in anger. So, will this ultimate fusion of technology and discipline perfect the beautiful game by removing errors and abuse? Or is it going to fundamentally change that free-flowing emotional spirit that made us all fall in love with football in the first place? Well, we'll find out together in 2026. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.